Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm meadsyreplays. Welcome back to the channel. So we've had a look at the what I think is the best super heavy. We've had a look at what I think is the best heavy, and now we are going to have a look at what I think is currently the best medium tank in tier 10. Now, for me, this was actually a very easy choice. Now, there are a couple of really good medium tanks. Of course, you've got the Leopard one, which I do love, but it takes skill to drive the Leopard one. Of course, you have tanks like the STB, which again, it is a very good tank. And then, of course, you have things like the Progetto, the TVP. They are all very good tanks, but I still don't think that nothing really compares to that of the E50M. This tank is just an absolute beast. For it to be a medium tank, this tank holds so many positives and not that many negatives. Like, it is an absolute beast. I think the camouflages that this tank has got is very good. You could either run it with the Monster Evo, or you can just have the normal Monster, or you can have the Roaring. Now, all three camouflages are pretty decent, but of course I run it with the Evo. Because I just think look how scary this tank looks with this camouflage. So let's just have a look at the stats, and then we'll get into just a couple of games that I have had. So your turret armor on this thing is 285 millimeters, so very strong turret. However, you do have weak points either side of the gun that are very weak. But you know, at the end of the day, it's a medium tank. You can't expect the whole thing to be red. And the hull is 174 millimeters. So your upper plate is actually very strong. Your lower plate, however, is quite weak. And the only other downfall with the tank, it is a very tall tank for a medium tank. So if you come up brawling against other tanks, you may only see sort of their turret, which, you know, some tanks could have a very strong turret. So if you're coming up against a WZ-121, then, and you brawl them, face hug them, then you may not come out the best. So do bear that in mind. So your damage per minute is 3,313, which is still decent with calibrated shells. So not as much as the Russian mediums, etc., or the Leopards, but for what it is, for what the tank is and how strong the tank is, that is still a very good DPM. That is just a reload of 6.16 seconds. So reload is pretty decent. Your penetration is 257 on your APCR, 339 on your heat, and 65 on your HE. That is a 340 alpha gun, which again is not bad. 300 with your heat and 450 with your HE. Your aim time is decent, or very good actually, at 2.9, and your dispersion at 0.308. Now, of course, you can get your dispersion better if you run it with the refined gun, 0.262, which is very good. Now, of course, it was already very good without the refined gun, but Wargaming decided to nerf it, which was one of the first nerfs we actually see with the tank. You know, they just gave this tank so much love, and then they did nerf it a bit. Also 8 degrees of gun depression, which is still decent, with a top speed of 60 kilometers per hour. So stat wise, it is very strong. Like, you look at the stats, and pretty much everything to do with the stats is very strong. But of course, you know, like any mediums, well, any tank really, there are still certain ways to play a tank. And with this tank, because of how big this tank is, I wouldn't normally recommend going on a ridge unless you are constantly moving. If you're constantly moving backwards, forwards, then yeah, you can go on a ridge. You can use that 8 degrees of gun depression. But if you just sit on a ridge still, then you will still get focused, especially on them weak points. So, you know, go with other mediums, use your DPM, and if you have the opportunity, I wouldn't just do it just for the sake of doing it. Of course, the ramming capabilities of this thing is just insane. Like, you could do a lot of damage. Now, usually I try and use that later on in the game if it's going to be sort of a definite win, just to get a bit more damage. And if I've got the hit points, yes, I will try to go for the ram. Or if you're in a situation where you are one-on-one with another medium, then I would normally go for the ram then, because then you go for the ram and do 400-500 500 damage, your DPM then becomes better than them because you have to add that that damage onto the DPM. So that's when I would usually ram. I wouldn't just rush into a super heavy and ram just for the sake of ramming. Normally I do try and save that the ramming only when I need to, so I don't just do it for the sake of doing it. So you can see here I'm on a ridge, quite easy to be fair. This battle was fairly easy, and you can see like they're not having no problems penetrating me whatsoever. But yeah, I really love this tank. Honestly, I think it is a fantastic tank. I was going to say it doesn't get the credit it deserves, but to be fair, it does get the credit it deserves. I love it, and I definitely think this is the strongest tank in tier 10 when it comes to mediums. To be fair, probably not just tier 10. I think it's probably the strongest medium tank in the game. So here we go. We're going to look at this match here. Now, Desert Sands, this game or this battle is just over 2 minutes long, and you know, it's not the best of battles, but it just showcases how strong this tank can be and how quickly you can pump up that damage. And even if you like this battle, I do try to go for the rams. Now, I didn't really want to come to this right side because we have 2 light tanks and a medium. The enemy have 2 and 2. They could overrun us quite easily. So basically it's a 4 versus 3 here. So we could totally get overrun and lose miserably. Luckily, the T-54 decides to rush in and be the only one to rush in. So you've got the guys around there. The Leopard 1 doesn't want to rush in. The Sheridan doesn't want to rush in. And of course, the T-92E1 doesn't want to rush in. That allows us to clear this T-54 without breaking a sweat. So I haven't lost any hit points so far, which definitely did help. So now I know the Sheridan there. I know the T-92 is there. And the Leopard is over here. So I do want to go for the Leopard. And to be fair, I'm trying to go for the ram here, but he goes for my tracks, and you can see there I do go for the ram. I lose 2 hit points and I do over 400 damage, which is why I say do try to go for the ram, because I would do that all day long. If you're only going to lose 2 hit points and you could do 500 to them and then a nasty HE shot after it all day long, and that's put my damage up to now just over 2,000 without again breaking a sweat. And then at this point we can now rush in to kill these light tanks. Now of course I tried to go for the ram. The Sheridan knew exactly what he was doing. He knew exactly what was coming, so he managed to get away from that really. And again, look at that, you know, a block from the side. Didn't even try to go for that block. So far we've got 2,700 damage and we've blocked just over 1,000. Hello, Grill. Look at his hit points. Gone. Over 1,000 damage, hit points just gone. And that then now pushes my damage up to 3,000. So let's try and go for the ram again. Again, just a little ram there. 189, but we lost nothing. Like we didn't lose anything there. So as I've said, if you're coming up against light tanks or medium tanks, do try to go for that ram. And that's not even me going quick. You know, imagine if I didn't get tracked from the Leopard 1 earlier. Like I would have done probably 700, 800, 900 damage to that guy, but just over 2 minutes gone and I still managed to get 4,100 damage. Nice first class, nice 5 kills as well, and that is why this tank is definitely the strongest in tier 10. So let me know your opinions. Do you think it's the strongest medium in a tank? Do you like it? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Let me know in the comments below. But for now, hope you enjoyed today's video. I'm meadsy69 and I will catch you all soon. Bye bye.